Welcome to the Would You Like a Cup of Tea podcast in connection with the event Would You Like a Cup of Tea, which is all about dismantling prejudice and helping to form healing and human connections within our hearts and minds by creating a safe space for diverse voices to be heard. The project is dedicated to fostering empathy and social change through sharing lived experiences, creating a connection with authenticity amongst others, and more importantly within ourselves. You will hear a variety of live podcasts that have taken place on the night, as well as from others who have come to share their stories at a later date, whilst also sharing their thoughts around the event. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Would You Like a Cup of Tea? This evening, I have with me the table story speaker called Finding My Voice. Do you want to tell us about your title and why you called that?
Yes, yeah. Hello. So my name's Adrianne, and the reason why the talk is called Finding My Voice is because I started singing in the choir. I started in January of this year, and yeah, I really enjoy it. So Finding My Voice was about singing and finding joy in singing and doing something that wasn't about money, it wasn't about career, it was just about doing something fun and joyful, and yeah, something that I can't see myself stopping doing now, so I love singing. So that's why it's called Finding My Voice.
So, other than like singing at home, like probably most of us do, and in the shower and stuff like that, have you not done anything like this before?
No. So the first time I performed, it was very nerve-wracking because it was in front of a live studio audience, not studio audience, so a live audience of people that I didn't know, complete strangers. But the reaction was one of like happiness and joy, and I was like, oh, I enjoy this. But I was very nervous beforehand, so yes, so I can't imagine not singing now.
What made you decide to do this if it's not something that you've not really had an interest in before?
Well, I'll say I'll have to kind of say my friend Naprika, who is part of the choir, and they're called the Hubphonics. And so we practice every Tuesday evening at St Barnabas Church. And it is just a group of people that just love singing, and they're like really kind people, nice people, and it's very welcoming, like a family almost, I would say. So it's that part that I like the most, the fact that we are complete strangers, but we just have so much fun. It's not like a chore, it's like something you look forward to, and it's like it gives you a boost for the rest of the week because it's always on a Tuesday evening. So yeah, so that's the reason why my friend's saying come along, and here I am in the choir.
That's lovely, thank you. So, can you tell us like what kind of songs you sing? Is it like...
So it's everything from pop to gospel to rock. Yeah, so every genre. We haven't done opera yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it if we do. So I really have to breathe, like for my diaphragm. Yeah, so yeah, we just sing everything. Some older music and like current songs as well. So yeah, so a range of music. We also do Christmas carols, like obviously when we're performing at Christmas, and yeah, so seasonal things as well, not just music that you might hear on the radio, like things you haven't, or songs you haven't heard in a long time. Maybe you went clubbing and you like recognise some of the songs, like from the past and also the present. So yeah, just a range of music, and the choir's encouraged to also choose songs as well that they want to sing. So and we kind of improvise as well. So in terms of like during the actual practice, we'll maybe harmonise, and half of the choir will sing harmony, and the other will sing like melody, and yeah. So it's it's very interactive. It's not a case of like, well, you're singing it this way, we're just going to sing it that way. So it's not very formal in that sense of like we're singing in a particular style. It's like it's different every week, so that's why I like it as well.
Okay. Have you, as a choir, performed anywhere?
Yes, so we performed at a church in Woodley, so that was at the beginning of the year. We performed at the hub at St Barnabas Church on London Road. I'm just trying to think where else we've performed. I think it's just those two places so far. But we also tend to do a lot of concerts and like performances during the Christmas period. So and throughout the year really. So we perform at different events like Blue Collar and like we're available for I'm sure christenings and weddings, whatever show, wedding festival. Yeah, I'm sure Clifton will be happy if he sees this. I'm trying to promote it as much as I can. We're available, to sing everywhere. So we do sing locally a lot. Last year we sang at the East Reading Festival, and we do sing at like various like community events as well. Again, like private events. Always open to kind of singing for like smaller groups as well. And community groups, so we sing everywhere, really.
Yeah, you plug your heart out now. Where there's a stage, piece of grass or land, we will be there. Are you guys not singing as well at the East Reading Festival this year?
Oh, unfortunately not, and that's due to circumstances out of our control, really. But hopefully we will be singing again soon, because we do obviously sing at the hub regularly, so I think probably the next time we'll be singing definitely will be at the next food and craft festival in September, because we'll be sung at the launch,
So while we're in plug-in mode, I will be hosting the poetry stage at the East Reading Festival, and I will also be at the food and craft event in September with my residents. So you've taken a step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
How did you find it, and do you think you'd be able to take those same steps again to do something different?
Yes. So currently I'm doing research, and I've started writing a book about my grandmother, which is so that's very different to anything I've ever done. So I've been thinking about it for a long time. So I've put pen to paper and I've started writing. I would say the foreword, so I've written that. So I'm still doing research at the moment. So it was basically the book's focused on the 10 years that she worked in the NHS in Reading. So she worked at Battle Hospital and the Royal Berkshire Hospital. So I'm just going to focus on that period of her life. So I started to do some research. I've taken pictures of where she used to live. It's just off the Oxford Road, actually. It's further down here, and then in East Reading as well. So she's lived in both sides of Reading. So it's trying to kind of paint a picture of her and her life in that 10-year period while she was working as a nurse.
Can I ask why you've chosen to focus on that particular part of her life?
I think it was significant because that's the reason that she actually came to the UK to initially study to be a student nurse in Maidenhead, and then she came to Reading. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the attraction was, because my grand's from Barbados, so I was like, Reading? I'm not sure. It's very different, but I think, part of the reason was because I think she had friends that were here that were training to be like nurses as well, so she had that support system, and there are a lot of people from Barbados here already, so it felt more like home to her. So that's the reason why she moved to Reading. I wanted to focus on those 10 years because I think I got a lot of first-hand um, yeah, testimony is the wrong word, I think, but first-hand information from her about what it was like to work at that time in the NHS and what it was like her being here when she was quite young and, you know, she was on her own initially, and she, you know, the weekend she spent with her friends, and she sounded like that period of her life. She was very carefree, and she was like really having a good time outside of like studying to be a nurse. And it always seemed like she really enjoyed that time. It was never anything negative. So I thought I want to focus on that part of her life. When she was kind of young and single. Carefree. She wasn't single forever, but so because my gran came, she did. I had to leave my mum and my uncle behind for a period of time. So I think I would say she wasn't carefree as such. In fact, that she also had to think that she had children that she had to really want to be reunited with eventually, and she did, but it took some time. So her being here was an opportunity for her to kind of establish herself first and then bring her children over later. So, but yeah, she was always very, to me, she was very much my heroine or my hero, whatever you like to call it, in terms of her kind of mindset and the things that she did. Like, she was very much a self-starter and like positive, and so that's what I want to write about in order to maybe inspire other people as well, as she inspired me. So that's why I want to write about that period and like the things that she did outside of work as well as inside of work, and you know, her influence on me, and just as a kind of a celebration of her life and just her memory really.
That's beautiful, thank you. So you were saying about writing about even her working life. So without spoiling your book, is there like a vast amount of difference between what it was like working with NHS then to what it is now? I feel like that's a silly question, but yeah.
Yes, from the research that I've done, I've gone to Reading Library, so I started there and I looked at the newspaper from 1963 when my gran came, and it was very interesting. There wasn't a lot in terms of the hospital, but there was a lot there in terms of what Reading was like, so the old shops and like the news, which was very, I would say, almost as if Reading was very much like a village, like much smaller place, a smaller community, so that kind of came across. And also they did have a lot of newspaper cutting specifically about the hospital and how it changed, and like why Battle Hospital was called Battle Hospital, because I think it's related to the fact that a lot of soldiers were there, like when they were like in the war, but so they were taken there to obviously recover from being injured, so hence the name. And also there was another article saying that they needed, actually I thought it was 47,000 extra staff, it was actually 4,700 extra staff for Battle Hospital, which suggested that the population was growing west of Reading, so hence they needed more people to work there. So, I mean, my gran worked at Battle and she worked at Royal Berkshire as well. And initially, when she did train to be a student nurse, she was in Maidenhead, which is St Mark's Hospital, which is still there. So I think there's a lot of history here that relates to my gran that I can kind of draw from. But the NHS is very different because my gran always described it as being very much kind of led by nurses, and especially on wards, like the matron was kind of like the ultimate in terms of ran the ward, and it was very clean and tidy. You know, that was like very much part of what the NHS was in terms of kind of hygiene, I suppose. And I think, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that isn't as prominent now, and I think it's also due to the fact that the NHS was looking after a much smaller population, especially when you look at someone like Reading, which has grown over like decades. So when my gran was working at the hospital, she had less patients, so she had more time to spend with them versus what RBH has now in terms of patients and people coming in and out. So it has an impact.
Yeah. So hearing that, you learn something new every day. It almost seems really silly that they would have closed the hospital in the first place. You've got more people and less hospitals. Anyway, back to you. Back to you, Adrianne. Okay. Wow. Yeah, sorry, my brain is like doing overtime now because I'm thinking, what? All these different things are running around in my brain space. So, do you think you'll write about anything else, or anyone else?
I think once I've written the book about my gran, it could lead me to writing more about the NHS, in all honesty, because I think there's a lot of untold stories about it from the perspective of the people that work there, not just famous people like, everyone knows who Florence Nightingale is or Mary Seacole, but the women, like as the nurses that influence the way the NHS is now and the way it was in the past and how it developed, really, like the people that were there at the time. I mean, it'd be nice to get first person interviews with nurses that worked at that time, and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So I'm working on looking at that as well, because I want it to be both kind of history and biography, and combine the two.
Yeah.
So it's going to take longer than I thought, but I think to do it properly, it's going to take time rather than to rush it.
Yeah.
So I want to do that.
Yeah. That's amazing. I look forward to reading both of them. So you're clearly very passionate about everything you do. What else? What other passions do you have?
Okay, I'll stick with the main one. So a big one for me is the arts, really. So I like theatre, I like art, so art galleries, museums, education. Yes, I'm very passionate about that, and also giving people opportunities and connecting people. I love doing that, so I do that as a matter of course. I don't want anything for it. I just like to see people win, in essence, and achieve their potential. So yeah, so my main things are like concerts and the theatre. So I love events. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see how many events that I go to. Sometimes 2 or 3 in a day, and people are like, "You've got all this energy," but it's like it doesn't feel like work to me. It's just fun. So I'm planning what to do next.
Great, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Adrianne?
It's okay. What's your name? My name, yeah. So it's
So it's Adrianne_Lowe. So that's Lowe.
Great. Oh, you've got a question? Yeah.
okay.
So it sounds like your gran really inspired you. Is there anyone else in your life who's inspired you?
I would say my son and my sister. Yeah, because my sister she's much younger than me. She's 23, but she inspires me. She's got lots of energy and lots of drive and determination. So I'm always inspired by her and my son. Yeah, for his perspective, really. Yeah, he's always kind of. I think he sees the positive in a lot of things. Sometimes I can be like, he's like, "Oh no, mum, no, you can do this, you can do that." So yeah, he's definitely someone that inspires me as well. So those two, yeah.
He's like your gran then, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You don't often hear people say that they're inspired by young people, but we can learn from anyone and everyone, absolutely anywhere at any time. So thank you for that. Does anyone have any other questions? Yeah.
And I just want to say I'd like the choir to come to Every Little Thing Festival.
Oh.
So that's in September.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk more.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have to come.
Great, thank you very much. Right, well, that brings us to the end of our Would You Like a Cup of Tea podcast. Feel free to go and mingle. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the Would You Like a Cup of Tea podcast, brought to you by My Voice in Power and Reading Biscuit Factory.